Hi, the Relatable Theist, and this week we'll be talking about the no answer to the question of does God exist, and that is atheism. Now, atheism is, in its traditional sense, the belief that there is no God, and that's backed up by plenty of encyclopedias and resources, including some definitions as atheism, from the Greek atheos, no God, is the philosophical position that God doesn't exist. It is distinguished from agnosticism, the argument that it is impossible to know whether God exists or not. Academic American Encyclopedia. Atheism, system of thought developed around the denial of God's existence. Atheism, so defined, first appeared during the Enlightenment, the Age of Reason. Random House Encyclopedia, 1977. Atheism is the doctrine that there is no God. Some atheists support this claim by arguments, but these arguments are usually directed against the Christian concept of God and are largely irrelevant to other possible gods. Oxford Companion to Philosophy, 1995. Atheism, Greek, private prefix, plus theos, God, is the view that there is no divine being, no God. Dictionary of Philosophy, Thomas Mautner, editor, 1996. Atheism is the belief that God doesn't exist. The World Book Encyclopedia, 1991. According to the most usual definition, an atheist is a person who maintains that there is no God, rejects eccentric definitions of the word. The Encyclopedia of Philosophy, 1967. So that's the traditional sense of the word, and the answer that really is no to the question of does God exist. But often in modern thought, atheists try and redefine it as a lack of belief. And in William Lane Craig's book, On Guard, he writes about this. What many atheists do at this point is to revise the definition of atheism, so that it's no longer the view that God does not exist, but becomes merely the absence of belief in God. Anyone who lacks a belief in God counts as an atheist. That is only contrary to the traditional meaning of the word, but it is really hopeless as a definition. For on this new definition, atheism is no longer a viewpoint or position. Rather, it's just a description of someone's psychological state, namely, the state of lacking a belief in God. As such, atheism is neither true nor false. And all of this still leaves us wondering whether or not God exists. Call it atheism or shamtheism. What we want to know is if God exists. And anyone who says that he does not needs to have some evidence or arguments for his position. And in a debate with Christopher Hitchens, Craig was trying to get his Hitchens' position out so he could pinpoint exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to know if Hitchens actually had any arguments for the lack of, the non-existence of God. So he called it more of an atheism type of belief. And Christopher Hitchens, many of the new atheists, they get frustrated almost. They say, well, Christopher Hitchens said, well, I wonder if I'm boring anybody at this point. And he kept on saying that he just doesn't believe that God exists. But then you say, well, what's your argument for that? And then he would say, well, I just lack the belief. So as a theist, trying to figure out which kind of atheist you'd be dealing with, in either situation, before you really know, a way to find out is to just say, do you have any arguments for what you believe in? And they could, most likely they'll do two things, one of two things. And one, they'll start saying, well, I don't believe in God because such atrocity in the Bible. Or two, they don't believe in God because there's a lack of evidence. Or they'll say that they lack belief in God. But as William Lane Craig puts it, that position can be proven right or wrong. So in the first example of an atheist that actually does believe that God does not exist, but just because of atrocities in the Bible, the first question you should ask them is how, as an atheist, someone who has no absolute standard of right and good besides just social conditioning, and if something is good, it would only be socially advantageous, how can they condemn something in the Bible as evil or wrong if they really don't have a standard? And just see what they'll see what they respond to that, because that might catch them off guard. For the second position, someone that would say that they lack belief, just tell them that that position it's not really a position at all. Tell them that it's just a state of mind, and therefore it can't really be proven right or wrong. So then give them some arguments, like the Kalam cosmological argument or the moral argument, and then see if they still choose to lack belief then. The Relatable Theist. Until next time.